Fourth. Today I decided, yesterday I was just fucking around with Fanspo, just making trades. And I decided, what would be a fun idea? Because all of the reports, Shams has said it, Wendy has said it, all the reports have been that the draft's going to be crazy. That it's most of the movement, especially big movement this offseason is going to happen around the draft. So I decided, what would be kind of a fun exercise is let's go through each pick in the first round and try to make a trade centered around it. Now, I didn't do that. I got to 20. So the first 20 picks or so to try and figure out, what each pick trade could look like. And this does include the first overall pick. So I tried to get creative. I tried to think of trades that maybe haven't been thought of yet. Although at this point in time, the way that it is now, everyone thinks of every trade, right? There's a mock trade for every scenario that you can think of out there somewhere. And I decided, let's just do it and try to have some fun with it. And of course, some of these are lopsided. Some of these are terrible. Some of these probably don't work. Just full disclosure, I'm just kind of fucking around and just seeing the general idea of something. These teams are smart. They're creative. They can make things happen when they don't seem possible. Financially is what I'm saying. So let's get down to business. Would you ever eat gum off the street if you need a sweet treat? First overall pick. I thought of a trade for the first overall pick. What is a trade that I can't see the Mavs trading the first overall pick, but what's a trade that if they decided to do it, I could see happening? We could do the Giannis shit. This one to me feels more likely. And again, I'm not saying the Mavs need to do this. I'm saying this would be the trade that would make some sense to me. If the Spurs looked at their situation and said, fuck it, man. We got all these picks. We don't need another guard. Cooper Flag is the final piece of the puzzle for us. Let's do whatever we can to move up. And in this scenario, the Mavs are like, man, we really need a guard. And maybe they've done their assessment and they're like, we don't think Harper's that far away from Flag. Although I don't think that's true. And I don't think anyone would come to that conclusion. But we don't think Harper's that far away from Flag. Maybe we can extract a ton of value out of this. And in this situation, it's the Mavs trade from 1 to 2. So they just moved back to the second overall pick while also getting Atlanta's 14th overall pick this year, which the Spurs have, obviously, a future Atlanta pick in 2027, and they get their swap back in 2030. So they get control of their pick back in 2030. Again, this wouldn't happen. I would be upset because I just think Flag's in a class of his own. I would be upset if the Mavs went this route personally. But if it were reported tomorrow, I think I've said this before, if Mark Stein came out and said, this package is on the table, the Spurs have offered this to the Mavericks, I would sleep a little uneasy at night. I would sleep a little uneasy at night thinking that, damn, that's kind of a lot. That's kind of a lot. What do you think about Gaff for Lonzo and pick 12? Fuck yeah, I would do that. Is that something that is even possible? Castle too. See, I think you're probably asking for too much at that point, honestly. But hey, I would ask, sure. All right, so this was my number 1 overall pick one. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. Spurs number 2. So we've done the Giannis thing. It does sound like the Spurs are going to get KD at this point. But I tried to go a little bit more creative with this one. What's another player out there? What about the Jaylen Brown stuff's interesting because it's just like Boston people who probably know some things are just like, hey, Jaylen Brown might get traded. Enough that it's somewhat interesting. What if the Spurs say, we want Jaylen Brown? We want Jaylen Brown. What do you guys think of this trade? Is this worth it? Where are we at? The Nets are involved in this. The Celtics, I don't think, would be all that interested in Devin Vassell or Keldon Johnson or whoever else. Could there be a situation where stuff is rerouted to Brooklyn and the Celtics can get Claxton and the second overall pick for Jaylen Brown? I think that'd be, if they are going to trade Jaylen Brown, I think that'd be a pretty fucking good return. Is this too expensive for the Spurs? I kind of feel like Jaylen Brown's value across the league is probably higher than you would think. So if the Spurs are print the jerseys for KD, does that mean Giannis isn't moving? They seem like the most likely place for Giannis, so why wouldn't they just get him instead of KD? It does not sound like Giannis is getting traded. They could use Vassell if they trade Brown. I kind of think Vassell's in the... If I'm a team like Boston and my main goal is to save money, I'm really not that interested in Devin Vassell whatsoever. At least Claxton fills a need for me at the center spot, especially if I do end up trading KP as well. gives them the hard cap, gives them a cap ceiling, don't you think? What, with Jaylen Brown? This feels like the Spurs are getting scammed. He gave up something similar for Flag. Yeah, but Jaylen Brown's kind of an established all-star level player. It is expensive, but they have a lot to give up. I don't like player-wise, they're not giving up much. But the second overall pick, 14th overall pick in a draft where like after it does kind of sound, and I haven't really looked into it yet, but it does kind of sound like the mid to late lottery is just kind of weird. And then a future first. Nets are getting a lot here. Yeah, I mean, this is so for the Nets, it does feel like they're getting a ton of return, but you are giving up Claxton, who I think would get you a first just by himself. And also you're absorbing contracts to help facilitate this trade. So them getting two firsts makes sense to me. And one of them being a 14th overall pick, which I think you're underselling Vassell a lot. Listen. My community here can vouch for me. I've been a Vassell truther for his whole career. How many times have I think I have picked Devin Vassell for most improved player in the past, but I've also just been like many a times been like, hey man, Vassell most improved. I think he's just entering a weird spot. He struggles to stay on the court. He's wildly inconsistent. He might just be who he is at this point. Like that's just the truth. And I love him a lot. And I do think there's a lot of upside there. It's not like he's a negative contract, right? But I don't think he's like the Celtics. I don't think would be all that interested in paying Devin Vassell $27 million for 4 years when they're trying to save money. That makes sense. So I thought about this. Well, I also thought about this trade in the way that's like, could they do this and get KD? And I don't think that was possible. It's really hard with the contracts. Just got my hat, Sally. Thank you, kind sir. Love to hear that. Yeah, there's well-respected draft people have said outside the top two, where it's Flags in a tier of his own and then Harper's in a tier of his own. And then it is just kind of like up in the air. So let's get to the rest. The top two picks aren't changing teams. This was just kind of fun to fuck around, but the top two picks aren't getting traded. It sounds like every other pick's on the table, especially the third overall pick. And I tried to do something that hasn't been talked about a ton. But the third overall pick in trades has just been talked about to death at this point. So it was hard to think of a scenario that hasn't been said already. How about this one? This one does kind of make some sense to me. It says failed. There's ways that this trade could be made to happen. All right, so I know it says failed. Get off my back. But what about the framework of something like this, where the Nets absorb Paul George's dog shit contract, but get the third overall pick in return, and the Sixers move down 5 spots, but also get Cam Johnson? So the idea here would be maybe the Sixers just aren't in love with somebody third overall, and they kind of they're okay with dropping in the draft if it means getting off the Paul George contract and getting a really good player in Cam Johnson in return. And the Nets' perspective would be, we love somebody third overall, whether that's Ace Bailey, whether that's Edgecombe, whether that's Trey Johnson, whoever it might be, right? And we want to move up and get him. And I don't give a fuck. We'll take on Paul George's contract. Let's just do it. Who cares? Right? Paul George, we'll let him go out and do his thing, and maybe he plays really well, and maybe a desperate team comes in and wants to trade for him. We can get off that contract and maybe flip him for something. What do you guys think about this one? Who says no in this scenario? Who would say no? It really just kind of depends on how these teams feel about the draft. If the Sixers like somebody, they wouldn't do this. I love this for Brooklyn, but don't see Philly giving up this quick on Paul George. I would kind of agree with you if there wasn't also a good player coming back in return in the form of Cam Johnson. I think if a team was willing to take Paul George's contract, they would do it. That contract is terrible. I think you rip the Band-Aid off now. Don't think the Nets do it unless they love someone. Yeah, that's what it comes down to is in any team moving up, they'd have to love someone. Don't you feel obligated to run back with George? If I was in charge, fuck no. I don't feel obligated to do anything. Let's reframe this. I have been hired as the GM of all of these teams now. Every team we talk about, I've been hired as a GM. Let's step in and try to get a trade. And the owner has said, we need to trade our pick. For whatever reason, we need to trade our pick. Getting off Paul George, priority numero uno, if I can do that with this pick. And also get something in return. I'll call teams about Embiid too. I'm tearing this shit to the ground. So anyways, I thought this one was kind of interesting. And I've seen iterations of this. 4th overall pick. Some of these are just straight up trade ups and trade downs. 4th overall pick is the Charlotte Hornets scenario where maybe they don't like someone. I try to think of some, like player trades so they can actually try and be competitive for once, but I don't know what the fuck they do. Let's just say the Hornets don't love somebody here. The reports are the Pelicans want to trade up. So the 7th overall pick and a future first. Indy's first next year, which probably isn't going to be very good. To move up 3 spots, that feels like fair value, right? It kind of seems like what the price is to move up around this area. I challenge myself to try and do one for every pick. And there's just some picks where it's like, I don't know, a trade up. There's not a lot of players. All right, Utah. What if Utah just says, fuck it? We're tired of just like not having a lot to get excited about. We need a guard, a point guard. I know they have Collier and I know they have Keontae George, so maybe they wouldn't do something like this. But what if they were just like, fuck it? Let's go get Trae Young. If Trae Young were available, let's go get him. Who says no to this? I think I say no if I'm the Hawks. I need more firsts, right? I absolutely need more firsts. Utah should do the Paul George deal. Jazz are in the AJ sweepstakes. They don't do it. But hey, what if teams decide, you know what? What if teams decide one of the things we've learned is that tanking's off the table. Tanking is off the table completely. Teams finally stopped taking after the last 2 lotteries. Like, yeah, what if they say, you know what? We can get Trae Young and it's for decent value for us. Like, let's just do it. Fuck tanking. This shit doesn't work. And it's not like getting Trae Young for them makes them like good immediately. I don't know. I think both teams say no to this one, actually. I think both teams say no to this pretty easily. I don't think the Jazz would be all that interested in doing this, and I don't think this is anywhere near enough for Trae. But I wanted to do something somewhat creative here. All right, 6th overall pick. How about another trade? How about the Wizards? All right, for the Sixers. What if the Sixers don't love someone at 3, and what if the Wizards feel aggressive? Is this fair value, you think? I think it is. If you're the Sixers and you're just like, hey, there's like 4 guys we like. We're cool with moving down. If the Wizards really want someone, 6 and 18, go get your guy. Sixers get 2 first-round picks in the top 20. Feels like pretty good value. That seems fine to me. You think this is enough to move up to 3? Do you think if this were on the table, another team swoops in and offers more for 3? What do you guys think? It's a mystery. Could the Wizards... I kind of like this for a team like Washington. Right? Like, yeah, you're a young team. You just want to accumulate as much young assets as possible. Having 2 top 18 picks is nice. But if you like somebody enough, use these picks to move up and get them. And then if you're the Sixers and it's like, we'll just take 2 top 18 guys. We're an older roster. We're going to be really expensive. Like, this makes sense for us. There's a lot of ace dropping talks. I don't think the Sixers are particularly interested. It seems like no one knows what the fuck the Sixers are going to do. 7th overall. All right, how about this one? What do you guys think about this? What if the Spurs do decide we're going to trade number 2 for a player, but it's not going to be some huge home run swing? let's say they go get KD and they still decide we want to still boost our team and we want to be competitive now. And we don't want this backcourt log jam. And we also like maybe we're not that sold on Dylan Harper, whatever the case may be. Trey Murphy and the Pelicans' 7th overall pick for Keldon Johnson and the 2nd overall pick. Who says no? I think the Spurs do. But I think there's a chance the Pelicans also say no. I'm like, I have a hard time gauging Trey Murphy's value. I feel like Trey Murphy is... Pelicans might view him as like a Mikal Bridges type of return. Is that crazy to think about? I think they might think of him as like, we need to be getting 4 or 5 picks in return for this. Like, they might think, if we're going to do this trade, we're not including our 7th overall pick. We're not going to include our 7th overall pick. We'll do it for the 2nd overall pick, but we're not giving you 7 too. Yeah, that's crazy. Pels would love having Harper as a centerpiece to a rebuild, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's kind of... So, all right. I was wondering this, and let me know what you guys think. The Mikal Bridges gets traded for 5 first-round picks. If you were a team like Brooklyn, or in this scenario, like the Pelicans, would you rather just have the 5 first-round picks? Here you go. You know, maybe you get lucky with a few of them. Or would you rather just have the 1 top 2, top 3 pick? Like, would you rather just have the guaranteed top 2, top 3 pick, or would you rather have 5 picks? I think I'd rather have the guarantee. Yeah, I think I'd rather have the number 2 overall pick than 5. If you were to go back in time, like let's say Mikal Bridges were still on the Nets and he was going to get traded this year, and the Knicks offered 5 first-round picks to you, but the Spurs came with the 2nd overall pick. I think you're taking the 2nd overall pick, right? Like, you're getting your guy. 5 first-round picks so I can have more movable assets. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one to think about. This one's more interesting. This one's just an interesting conversation starter. I do think the Pels would say yes to this. Right? I mean, they'd have to. Right? I would love Trey Murphy on the Spurs. I think that'd be an incredible fit. Trey Murphy's an incredible fit everywhere, though, to be fair. All right, Brooklyn, they have the 8th overall pick. Again, I did another trade down. This time they trade down with the Wizards. 6. The Nets get the 6th overall pick. The Wizards get the 8th pick and the 26th pick. I mean, I don't know. Again, I tried to challenge myself to do one trade for every team. Some of these would be trade-ups. This feels like fair enough value to move up a couple spots. The Nets have, I think, 4 picks in the top. Do the Nets have 4 first-round picks? I believe it's 4 first-round picks and like 5 top 35 picks. So they're going to do something, the Nets. They'll do some type of trade. They'll probably package some picks to move up or whatever the case may be. Maybe even trade out of a pick entirely to get future stuff. But there's just no need to have that many picks. No need. How about this Toronto? I tried to think of something aggressive for Toronto because they are reportedly wanting to make a big swing. Thunder are going to have something with their picks soon, right? I've got the Thunder coming up. The Raptors reportedly want to make a big swing. I don't know why, but okay, fine. Too much for KD? Is it? I agree with you. I don't know what KD's value is. But I think I actually think the Raptors would probably do this. KD's value is so low because he's old. He's an expiring contract. Like, you're gonna have to pay him. He's kind of a flight risk. If, like, he goes to a place he doesn't want to go to. RJ, who's been good for them, and Pirtle, who's good as well, and the 9th overall pick, as well as 2 swaps. Is that too much? You just take the swaps out entirely. Take out 9, and I do this. I think I'd take out the swaps if I were Toronto. Take the swaps out. Let's just do 9. And the Nets are getting a 9th overall pick for Cam Johnson. The Suns are going to I mean, this is actually an incredible return. This is an incredible return for Phoenix. If they could turn Kevin Durant into like Cam Johnson and Jakob Poeltl, I mean, that's an incredible get for them. I'm not sure what the Raptors do this for, though. The more I'm looking at it, I'm not gonna lie. I originally had a Jaren Jackson Jr. trade, but none of it made sense. None of it made sense. KD, Scotty, and Bey on the same team is something. All right, so I tried to let's talk through a potential Jaren Jackson Jr. trade for the Raptors. If the Grizzlies were to be like, "Fuck, man, we don't want to pay Jaren that," and the Raptors said, "Don't worry, we'll take him off your hands," Scotty would have to be in the trade, right? That was my hang up. Scotty Barnes would have to be in a Jaren Jackson Jr. trade. No questions asked, right? I couldn't think of what else would even interest the Grizzlies enough in that scenario. For those on Spotify, the trade that I have here is the Raptors get Kevin Durant, the Nets get RJ Barrett in the 9th overall pick in this draft, and the Suns get Cam Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, and 2 swaps with the Raptors. Maybe you could take those swaps out. I'm really interested to see what Kevin Durant's return ends up being. We did the Harrison Barnes, Keldon Johnson, and the 14th overall pick. And that might be it. Like, that might just be it. Who's the 10th overall pick? Houston. Okay, let me know what you guys think about this one. This one I found interesting. So, Jabari Smith Jr., I like him quite a bit. His role in this Rockets team seems in flux to the point where they're going to have to pay him soon, and I don't know what that situation is going to look like. So him being traded makes sense to me. They also have so much depth and young pieces that, I don't know, I could see them trading the 10th overall pick 100%. Now, we've seen, you might think about this and be like, well, what do the Rockets need more like defenders and wing defenders? They need like shot creation. But we've seen, it's a copycat league. We know that. We've seen the Thunder improve an area of strength for them, which is defense by going out and getting Caruso. And that was kind of like, oh my God, the Thunder have Caruso now? Like, what the fuck? They don't even need Caruso. Because the Rockets followed that line of thinking. Jabari Smith Jr., Aaron Holiday, and the 10th overall pick to the Pelicans for Herb Jones and Jose Alvarado. Who says no to this? I think both teams are interested. Now, unless the scenario where I could see this, a scenario in which I could see this maybe not playing out is if the Rockets are like, actually, we really like Jabari. Well, we know we haven't used him right, but we're gonna change that. The thing is, the Thunder have that guy on offense. Rockets don't. Yeah, but they could they could still make other trades though. They have so many assets. Like, they could do this as well as something else, if that makes sense. I agree with what you're saying, though. I don't think the gap in value between Jabari and Herb is that big. I think Herb is more valuable. Plus, he has that extra year. $14 million is just a steal of a fucking contract for Herb. And again, you're getting a premier. And don't sleep on Jose Alvarado this deal. Like, Jose Alvarado is a valuable player as well. Like, Jose Alvarado has very positive trade value, I'd say. Durant to the Clips for Powell, Bogey, Dunn, and change. I mean, that would be interesting. Won't Pels want more? Yeah, that was the thing I didn't know. What's like it? It's funny because I saw a trade very similar to this by a Rockets fan that included Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy, they'll want more, 100%. Herb Jones missed most of last year with an injury. I don't know. Think Pels say no, Rockets do it. This would be an interesting one. I like it for the Rockets. I would do it 100% if I were them. What's the 11th overall pick? Is this another? Oh shit! I tried to have some that were pretty fun. How about a Portland moves up to number 3? I tried to have some fun with some of these. Portland moves up to the 3rd overall pick. Absorb Paul George's contract. Get Kelly Oubre. This is a big 4-teamer. The Sixers are getting Anthony Simons, which I'm not so sure with McCain and Maxey, but they're getting Anthony Simons, Rui Hachimura, good player, Jared Vanderbilt, and the 11th overall pick this year. The Lakers are involved in this trade, and they're getting Ayton and Lonzo, and the Bulls are getting Maxey and a few second-round picks to take on Maxey's contract and for Lonzo. Who is saying no? Again, in this scenario, we just have to believe that maybe the Sixers don't love a guy at 3, and the Blazers love a guy at 3. That's what would have to be what happens. The Lakers, for the Lakers side of this, yes, solving your center crisis with Ayton would be a disappointment. No two ways around it. But there could be some value in this being hey, we've done our due diligence. We've done our due diligence on some of these trades and some of these centers, and we're not going to get one. And we're not giving up really anything here. Maxey is fine. We get off Vanderbilt's contract, fine. Rui hurts. Losing Rui sucks. But it's 1 year of Ayton. He's better than any other option we have. And we're also getting Lonzo, which addresses an area of need for us as well, which is a kind of a point of attack perimeter guy. And let's just hope he's healthy. So again, we're not really giving up much. I wouldn't mind this if I were the Lakers. I don't know. I don't know the financials of this, if this even makes sense for them. Because they are going to have to pay LeBron and stuff. I don't know if this is possible. So who says no, you think? Who says no? I kind of have a hard time. We have to pretend that Portland loves a guy at 3 and the Sixers don't really want a guy at 3. The Lakers? Yeah, I mean, this would be like a Lakers sort of saying, hey, there's not a realistic center for us to go get, and we do not want to trade a ton of our assets. And they could look at this. Another way to look at this is that's $35 million expiring at the deadline in the form of Ayton that could be very valuable if you were to make a big swing at the trade deadline. I got $35 million contract right here that's expiring. I don't think they want to take on the Ayton contract, given the fact he's not as good as he used to be. It's only a year left on the Ayton deal. So it gives you that. It also provides you cap flexibility next year as well. Because you're going to have to pay Reeves. And you'll want, if LeBron retires or stuff, you'll have some room to move around in free agency. Claxton's multiple years. I'm just trying to think of some of the centers they've been rumored to. If you go out and get a Gafford, the idea is you'd be paying him. Ayton could just be a stopgap. We've tried everything else, and this is just what we get. It's better than nothing. And maybe it's just a 1 year playing next to Luka. Maybe we get the most out of him. I kind of feel like I cooked with this one. Honest to God, I think the Sixers are the team that would not do this. I think the Sixers say no. Because look at what they're getting. Basically, the entire purpose of this trade for them, and I'm looking at this right now, and I think it's actually fucking terrible for the Sixers. The only thing they're really getting out of this is getting off of Paul George's Albatross contract. Because with McCain and Maxey, do you need Anthony Simons? Where does he fit into this equation for you? Maybe try to flip Anthony Simons then. Maybe we add the Magic into this trade. And now the Magic are getting Anthony Simons and you're getting something from them. Rui would be nice for the Sixers, and he kind of fits an area of need for them. JJ commits seppuku at the first. Yeah, JJ would hate DeAndre Ayton. Anyway, this is I wanted to do a big one. How about this one? Chicago finally says, fuck this. Let's do something fun. And they get Zion. And I tried to make this work. I think this is kind of an interesting one. So the Pelicans say we're done with the Zion situation. Now, it's not going to happen, right? Because it's already been reported that they're going to hold on to Zion. He was at their draft lottery. They're not trading him. Is that the smart decision? I'm not so sure, to be honest with you, if that's the smart choice, if it were possible. for them to, if it were possible for them to get off of Zion and get some real return, I think they should do it. I think just blindly committing to it is a stupid decision. But let's just say I'm hired as a GM now, and I'm saying, listen, we need to get the fuck out of the Zion business. Like, that's just, we need to get out of it. The Bulls get Zion. The Pelicans get Kyle Kuzma from the Bucks. Bear with me. Kobe White, the 12th overall pick, 2027 first from the Bucks, and a 2031 top 10 protected pick from the Bucks. Milwaukee in this trade gets Vucevic. So Milwaukee's getting off the Kuzma deal, which fucking such a bad trade. And they are giving up a future first, but they're getting a center. I'm assuming Brook Lopez is leaving. You're getting a center in Vucevic, who the floor spacing next to Giannis. I mean, we see what he looks like with centers who can shoot. I think this is an interesting trade. I think it's a good return for the Pelicans. I think it's a desperation move for the. It's a desperation move for the Bulls for sure. But the Pelicans are getting like Kobe White, an interesting guard, a few first. You're out of the Zion business. And the Bucks are getting an upgraded center while getting off the Kuzma deal. An upgraded center. But they're addressing, again, this is assuming that Zion stays. Or not Zion, sorry. This is assuming that unless they get another ticket selling star, they ain't trading Zion. I mean, are they selling a lot of tickets? Like, no offense. Are they selling a lot of tickets right now? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are. Year 7 was Zion playing 0 minutes in the playoffs. I know. Like, this just like blind commitment they have to him right now makes no sense to me at all. It's like, yeah, he's here. Like, we're not trading him. It's like, okay, why? I don't understand this logic at all from New Orleans. I don't understand it one bit. Wasn't it like $20 to go to a Pelicans game? Yeah, it is very cheap. But that's not, I don't think we should shit on teams for that. I don't think we should shit on teams for that. I think this one's kind of cooking. All right, how about this one? This one I actually thought. So Atlanta has one of the interesting wrinkles of this draft process is Atlanta, because they have trade exceptions that they need to use. So they can absorb contracts with nothing going out in return. How about this trade? I thought about what are some of the players the Hawks need? They could go out and get a center. Really, they need just more defensive-minded players, I think, to plug alongside. I think they've made their decision on what they're going to be as a team. And that's, we're going to surround Trey next to just defensive players. Like all guys who can defend next to Trey. What about a trade like this? PJ Washington goes to Atlanta. They absorb him in one of their trade exceptions, and the Mavericks get the 13th overall pick. Now, there's been reports from Stein that the Mavs don't want to trade Gafford or PJ, which makes sense. But if you decide we're not going to be able to pay these guys, and this were on the table for you, I think you'd seriously have to consider it. I don't know who's going to be at 13. It's more so you're giving yourself another lottery pick. And also, like, you're just kind of resetting the payment thing. Had to be during draft. The Mavs like someone during pick 12. What would it take for it to be Gaff instead of PJ? I mean, the Hawks also have a pick in the 20s. Which we've done before. I thought this was interesting. And again, I hate doing this because it's like, I'm not advocating for these guys to get traded. I want to be very clear about that. Last pick of the lottery, 14th overall, Spurs. Let's say, I think this pick is probably going in a KD trade, guaranteed. But let's say the KD trade falls through, or they make it happen with other pieces, and this is still something that's available to them. How about Harrison Barnes and the 14th overall pick for Cam Johnson? Would the Nets want more for that? Is that a fair return for Brooklyn? Because it's not like Harrison Barnes is a scrub. Like, you could probably flip Harrison Barnes somewhere. Not enough? I think the Nets would have to be eyeing somebody here. Because again, the problem with this, a trade like this, is Brooklyn already has so many firsts. So I think something like this would have to be them getting like the 14th overall pick from the Spurs and then them using that to move up. So it'd have to be a part of other moves for them, if that makes sense. Because they're not going to be drafting all these guys in the first round. This would, I think, give them 5 first-round picks, which is just absurd. But I like the idea of Cam Johnson on the Spurs. And it kind of fits. It makes some sense. All right, this next one. All right, let me just say this. I do think... Yeah, my idea behind this trade is this would be a precursor of other moves for Brooklyn. How many players will the Nets have under contract? Yeah, they don't have a lot of guys under. Right now, they have 9 standard contracts. This next trade. I have a feeling in my stomach something like this is going to happen. I just have a feeling in my stomach. And it might not necessarily be this exact move, but I cannot help but feel like something like this is going to happen. And it's going to be a very similar situation of the 2018 offseason when the Warriors got DeMarcus Cousins. And we say to ourselves, what the fuck are we doing? What's the point of even playing the games? Now, of course, that team didn't win the championship, but similar situation. I think there's a world where the Thunder... I think there's a world where the Thunder are aggressive this offseason, even if they win the finals. What if the Thunder made a play for Trey Murphy? What if the Thunder look at their finals run, even if they win it, and say, man, we had too many stretches where we could not shoot. We had too many stretches where we couldn't shoot, and we need to find like a knockdown 3-point shooter. Like, we need to find that. We need to add that. Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, the 15th overall pick, Phillies first next year, Clippers swap in 2027 to the Pelicans for Trey Murphy. I could easily see something like this happening. Now, Trey Murphy's on a very friendly deal, $25 million for 4 years. The Thunder do have just some interesting cap stuff, right? They do have some interesting cap stuff. You got Chet, J-Dub, Shea. All these guys are going to be making a ton of money in the near future. You do have Hartenstein at $30 million, but he's going to be off the books in a couple years. It's just, I wanted to do something like this just to show this is possible. This is possible. Something like this could easily happen. Something like this could easily happen. In fact, it really might. The Thunder might look at it and be like, dude, fuck. Like, we've seen this. Look, we know firsthand, windows are never open as long as you think. Like, let's just make it to where we're going to win the next 3 championships. And then whatever happens after that, we'll figure it out. We've managed to build such a good situation for ourselves that, you know, we could weather any storm, really. This would be insane. Well, the 15th overall pick is not enough to get Trey Murphy, which is why you're throwing other stuff. And also, Joe and Wiggins are good players on good deals. I think they could do something like this. Now, history shows us they probably won't. They like having these picks. They like drafting guys in hopes that, you know, they can just, guys who want more money can just leave and they can replace them. Wonder if they keep Topic around. I think they are going to keep Topic around. And what was the last trade? Honestly, I don't remember. Oh, Orlando gets Sexton. This was the last one I had. It got difficult at this point. So in this scenario, Jazz are getting the 16th overall pick, absorbing KCP's deal. Magic get Colin Sexton. What do we think about this? I think both teams would probably say yes to this, right? Like, maybe the Jazz would want something more for... I just can't imagine you're getting that much more for Sexton. The Jazz need a guard. Sexton kind of... Or the Magic need a guard. Sexton kind of fits a lot of what they need. And also, you're getting off of KCP's contract at the same time. Like, I think this makes sense for both parties. I think this makes sense for both teams. You have to find situations like this because I really don't think in a vacuum, I really don't know if I'd want to trade the 16th overall pick for Sexton. But if I'm also getting off of KCP in the process, it does make some sense for me. So that was all the trades I ended up coming up with. I thought I got to 20. I guess I didn't. This was a fun little exercise. Because it's interesting. After you get, like, the top 2 picks are not getting traded. After that, it seems very likely that, like, it got to the point where I was looking at every pick. I was like, this pick could get traded. Every single pick, I was like, they might trade this pick. They might trade this pick. And then I got to where I was like, they probably will trade this pick for every single one, which obviously isn't going to happen. But it does seem like not only have we gotten reports that the draft's going to be crazy, but if you just look at it and what the team needs are, we are kind of reaching that point where these teams have been stockpiling picks for so long that you're starting to see it where teams have like 3, 4 picks, 5 picks in like the top 40. And it's like, this team can't do, like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's crazy they gave KCP $20 million a year. Jesus. I like the Thunder trade. Telling you, they could do some shit like this, man. And it would just be like, wait, what the fuck just happened? Wait, what? They got Trey Murphy? No, KCP is washed, 100%. So let's recap all of these. I did the first 16 picks I made mock trades for. Mavs, trade down with the Spurs, get future picks in return, get the second overall pick. Not happening, but it's the Giannis thing's off the table. It's the only like trade for the number 1 overall pick I've seen tossed around, even just as a mock trade, that hasn't made me want to jump off of a bridge. Now, I'd still be upset because I want Cooper Flag badly. But I think I could at least talk myself into the idea of this. The Spurs, we've heard their name with the second overall pick tossed for Giannis and stuff. It doesn't sound like Giannis is getting moved. I thought, what about Jaylen Brown? So I had the Spurs trading Jaylen Brown and stuff for the second overall pick. Celtics getting Nick Claxton from the Nets. Pieces moving around. What about Cam Johnson and the 8th overall pick to the Nets for Paul George, the 3rd overall pick? I'm not going through all of these, but it was a fun exercise. I love doing shit like this.